Miami Dolphins are loaded with talent, and despite losing a lot of talent in free agency this offseason, the expectations remain the same, where they're still trying to make deep playoff runs. And once again, despite losing the talent, the expectations remain the same. So in order to hit those goals, they're going to need a lot of young talent to step up. In this video, I'm going to break down all of the young players the Dolphins are going to need to step up if they want to go where they want to go with their expectations. Some of that talent the Dolphins are looking to replace with their young talent. You're thinking Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland, Teron Armstead, Calais Campbell. We're talking about some of the best players on our past teams are all now gone, and they need these young players to step up in those roles, as well as obviously the other veterans to continue to elevate. But I'm going to start on the offensive side of the ball at the running back position. I forgot to mention Raheem Mostert as well. But the Dolphins are now looking to have somebody to pair up with Devon Achane to be more in between the tackles, red zone running back that can get those 2 to 3 tough yards. And it's going to come down to these two young guys. And there's actually one other vet, but Jalen Wright or Ollie Gordon. One of these two really need to step up at that running back spot to help pair up with Devon Achane. The Dolphins obviously also went out and signed Alexander Madison, but it would be nice if one of these young players stepped up to help pair up with Devon Achane, be a short yardage back, get those tough, gritty yards. And there's been a lot of meat left on the bone in this scheme from the younger players at the running back position by not being able to read the holes correctly. So we need, and it's a complex offense, but we need one of these two young backs to step up. Next, onto the tight end position, Julian Hill. Hill was thrown into a role that was too big for him last year. With that said, the coaching staff loves him, and he's got a desirable skill set. He's a tough, nasty football player, and it's something that the Dolphin fans specifically have been clamoring for, but yet they shit on Julian Hill because, yes, he struggled early on, and they want a certain skill set from the tight ends. But for this offense to go the way it wants to go, we need good blocking, and Julian Hill has a very good skill set for that. Now, the Dolphins did go out and sign Farrell Brown to help compete with Julian Hill for the blocking tight end spot, which is good. But Julian Hill has the very good upside with his size, his physicality, and he's got decent athleticism for the size. So the coaching staff saw something in him. Like I said, I think they gave him more than he could chew last year, but he did improve week over week. He started the season with a bunch of penalties early on, and then I believe after a certain point, he didn't have a penalty the rest of the season. So I think Julian Hill has a lot of upside. We need him to grow into that position now, though. Like, there's no more waiting with him. Like, it's got to be this year. Get on it. Like, be that dude that we expect him to be. Be that early down tight end. And then if he has the receiving upside to go pair with it, awesome. Obviously, the Dolphins don't need a lot of that with the trade of Darren Waller, which is hilarious that I've had his canvas on my wall for the longest time, despite him not being a Dolphin, and now he is. So we need Julian Hill to step up to be that blocking tight end. If not, it's going to end up being Farrell Brown's job, and then probably a position that they continue to hunt in the offseason. The next young player the Dolphins need to step up is left tackle Patrick Paul. Now, obviously, Teron Armstead retiring, is a huge blow to this offensive line. He was the leader. He was the best player when on the field. Obviously, he struggled to stay on the field, but did a pretty good job last year staying on the field. And when he was there, he was dominant at his position. And now the young Patrick Paul needs to step up in his place. And obviously, Patrick Paul has a lot of upside. He played very limited snaps last year. He didn't look awful in them. He didn't look like the best player in the world. But when we took him out of college, the expectation was high upside kind of guy, very athletic, big, but kind of lacked maybe the strong fundamentals you want to see from the position. He obviously has had a year in the system, so to continue to develop, he's got to learn under Teron Armstead. So you kind of hope for Patrick Paul to finally, in year 2, be able to fill into that left tackle role. And obviously, if he's an all-pro player, awesome. We don't need him to be an all-pro. We need him to be solid. Like, just don't be a turnstile. And that's kind of what this offense needs from a lot of the linemen, is don't be a turnstile and then be a quality run blocker in space. And that's like the dream offensive line for the Dolphins. And if we can get Patrick Paul to be that kind of player in year 2 with obviously the tremendous upside his body provides him, that would be tremendous. So obviously looking for Patrick Paul to step up at that left tackle position. And we have another player on the offensive line, which is guard Jonah Savaianaya. I believe I got that correct. Once again, similar to Patrick Paul, like the Dolphins have a good core offensive line. There's a lot of ifs that require the line to be good, where we need Patrick Paul and Jonah to be quality players. Once again, we don't need him to be an all-pro. We just need him to be a solid player. He's going to take his rookie lumps, but if he's a day in, day out quality player that you can rely upon, yes, he's maybe going to let up a sack or two. He's not going to make every single block perfectly, but as long as he's solid, that's what the Dolphins need from him. You pair him with Aaron Brewer, who's very good, Austin Jackson. The issue with this Dolphins offensive line, I think on paper, it's got a lot of upside, but it's on paper, and there's a lot of injury questions with Austin Jackson and James Daniels, and then you have 2 young players that you're relying upon. So there's question marks, but if we can get Jonah and Patrick Paul to be solid, this offensive line could be quite good. So it's time to flip to the defensive side, where a lot of the turnovers happened. The offense, there's been a lot of continuity. The offensive line, obviously there's those 2 young players that the Dolphins are going to rely upon. But aside from that, a lot of continuity. The defensive side, though, has changed a lot. Starting with the defensive tackle spot, losing Calais Campbell, who was absolutely tremendous in his age 37 season. And now the Dolphins are looking to pair up with Zach Sealer. And honestly, I just kind of have it as the trio of rookies between Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, and Zeke Biggers. We don't need all 3 to pop or hit. We need 2 of the 3 to be quality rotational players. And obviously with Kenneth Grant being a first-round pick with the upside, you want to see him be able to develop into a larger role with more upside and maybe pass rush ability. But the Dolphins, from the interior defensive line spot, they really, yes, getting pass rush is great, but with how this scheme is with defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, now he generates his sim pressures. There's going to be a lot of free runners, ideally, from our simulated pressures, not necessarily from the defensive line. The main job of these defensive tackles is to eat up space and stop the run. So we need 2 of these 3 players to be quality in that role, and then if they provide pass rush, tremendous. But it's similar to people want everything from players. If they are able to stop the run, they did their job. And obviously, there's going to be room to grow, but we need to not have a hole on the defensive line next to Zach Sealer. So if 2 of these 3 players are solid rotational guys, it's a job well done. So obviously, ideally, it's our higher picks in Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips. Obviously, Kenneth Grant, we want to see be a day 1 starter and be the guy that's paired up with Zach Sealer. It might not be the case, though, but ideally, we need 2 of these 3 players to be solid from day 1. And that's the position the Dolphins have put themselves in, where they can't afford to not have these guys be solid from day 1. So we need these guys to hit the ground running. And then the last position where the Dolphins need young players to step up is the entire cornerback room, with obviously Jalen Ramsey and Kendall Fuller leaving. The only remaining starter is Kader Kohou, which a lot of people, I feel like, have been trashing on. Kader's a dog. I have the utmost confidence in Kader Kohou to be a quality corner for us. The rest of the room, though, definitely a lot of question marks. Starting with the 2nd-round pick, Cam Smith, who is talented, has struggled to stay on the field. He didn't play at all year 1 under Vic Fangio, probably due to a lack of trust from Vic. And then year 2, struggled to stay healthy. I believe he ended up pulling something in early offseason this year. So we need him to stay healthy if he wants to see the field. But the thing about the Dolphins cornerback room right now is they have a lot of young talent. It's just a matter of who's going to sink, who's going to swim. The next guy on this list is Ethan Bonner. Physically, a very impressive player. I don't love Omar Kelly for a lot of his takes, but he said he's the best physical corner the Dolphins have in terms of size, speed, athleticism, and that I think he can observe for himself. That I'll let pass. Ethan Bonner's a guy that gets a lot of love and praise from coaches, and Chris Greer as well, saying teams were trying to trade for him, all of this. Yet, when there's a cornerback injury and there's somebody that has to replace him, he's never the guy. So it's weird. They gas him up, but he doesn't see the field. And last year, for example, they put Storm Duck in over Ethan Bonner, despite all the love he was getting. So it's weird where he's getting a lot of praise. He's got a lot of talent, but he barely sees the field. But once again, we'll see if he sinks or swims. He's got an opportunity to win a spot. Let's see if he does it. Jason Marshall Jr., the 5th-round pick out of Florida, former 5-star recruit, long athletic player built for man coverage, but his tackling and consistency were shaky in college. Kind of boomer bust potential. So once again, he's got a place to compete. The Dolphins, you can kind of see a consistent theme amongst these players. It's a lot of long athletic players. It's just a matter of putting it all together, being where you need to be at the right times, being able to be physical and make tackles in this scheme. So it's really just a battle of all of these young players. And the last young player I have on the list, I already mentioned, Storm Duck. He was steady in limited snaps last year, quietly earned trust, and could be a depth piece again. But he's going to have the ability to go out and win a job. So I really think, obviously, pending us signing another corner, which I hope we do. I would like to sign a veteran cornerback heading into training camp. But right now, I feel like you have 4 young corners and Cam Smith, Ethan Bonner, Jason Marshall, Storm Duck. You need obviously 2 to win a starting job, and then you have Keter Kohu as the slot / can rotate to outside. And obviously, especially with the Dolphins safety room and Anthony Weaver coming from Baltimore, they're known for running a lot of big nickel, which is 3 safety sets, especially with Minka's versatility. And then they have Ife Melifonwu with versatility, and Ashton Davis. Like, they have versatility from the safety room. So maybe the Dolphins are more 3 safety heavy, but you're going to still play 3 corners at some point in the season. So the Dolphins need at minimum 1 of these guys, but ideally 2 of these guys to step up, especially if they don't go out and sign another cornerback. So overall, the Dolphins lost a lot of talent. They didn't do a lot of replenishing of the talent they lost in free agency or via trade, and they're depending on a lot of young talent, from players already in the building to players they went out and drafted to step up to fill those roles, to be able to elevate this team to where they want to go. And once again, that could be a benefit. Like, sometimes having those young, hungry players can be a difference. Like, it can kind of change the culture where, like, yes, we lost Calais Campbell, Teron Armstead, Jalen Ramsey, like all these huge names, but sometimes having those hungry guys that aren't, I'm not calling like Teron Armstead a diva by any means, but Jalen Ramsey is. But like, when you have guys who don't know any better, who are willing to just listen to the coaching, be hungry, do what they're told, stick their nose in everything, like that can make all the difference. And once again, you prefer to have the proven talent, but having young, hungry players can also be a benefit. And then if they pop, you have them under control very cheap for the next 3 to 4 years. So overall, those are the young players the Dolphins need to step up if they want to go where they want to go in 2025. Comment your thoughts down below. Who do you think needs to step up the most? Appreciate you guys for watching. Like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And until next time, fins up.